So I'm like, well, he said I'm from a very athletic family. My brother wrestled in the Olympics, so he's a wrestler. He's the head coach at Simon Fraser University right now, and I am a swimmer. I love swimming. I still swim coach for fun on the side. Um, and I'm a writer. So when my son was doing hockey, I love sports, and I was so excited that he had this sport that he loved, and it was going to be this great experience. And the more I was in it, the more I just thought, this can't be what we're supposed to be doing, and not just in the sport, but in what it did to our family life. Like my husband, we live in a ski town, so my husband was like, well, we live in a ski town so we can ski. I'm not going to spend every weekend driving all over to rink, so we all sit there while one kid plays hockey. So I said, well, I'll do it. Like if he loves it, I'm going to do it. So I was driving all over for hockey, and he was staying home and skiing with a daughter, and he and I never saw each other. Our marriage was not in great shape. We were spending a fortune. It was like, I was like, are we having fun? Is this good? I'm not sure. And so I wanted to make a space to think about that. So that's where I wrote this book, Home Ice: Reflections of a Reluctant Hockey Mom. And so I tell my very personal story, a memoir. So that's the kind of book that I like to read. It draws, I think I'm kind of self-deprecating. I say, well, it's the kind of book women like to read, but I shouldn't say that because lots of men have liked it too. But it's it's a woman's story of her own family life, and then I weave in all the research. So the research will be stuff that all of you know very well. The benefits of half ice hockey, making sure that sport is child-driven rather than parent-driven, waiting till later in the process to tier kids too much, depending on the size of the city. But yeah, waiting, not putting the emphasis on tiering and A teams until later, having kids do more multi-sport, doing less travel, making it less expensive so it's more accessible to more families, focusing on fun, waiting until kids hit puberty to get more serious. Like it was not groundbreaking information for any of you, but I thought, if I can take all that kind of stuff that academics are talking about and that people at a high level of the sport are talking about and put it in a book that a hockey mom might grab on her way through Walmart and say, well, I'm a hockey mom, I'll read this. And then maybe that'll get some of the research down to that grassroots level, because I feel at the high level, people know the benefits of multi-sport and not pushing kids too young, but at the execution in the town level, the message is not getting through. So I wrote this book, a season in our year of, I can't even remember, was it first year Adam? Something like that. And it got a really good reception right out of the gates, and I was very excited. I got first I did a event with Carl Subban because he had his How We Did It book out, and he and I hit it off, and so we started doing these tours together and stayed at Carl Subban's house, which is pretty cool. The first thing that I ever did that impressed my husband, so he was that was good. And then so we were having these little talks where we'd speak to different communities, and I felt like we were getting through. And then I was on CBC's Sunday Edition right away, and that got a lot of pickup, and the book was a bestseller. And then I felt like this is really going to start a conversation that I'm really excited to be a part of. And Jeff Turner from Hockey Canada called me, and we went out for coffee, and he said they realize that hockey's in crisis, and he's collecting ideas, and he's totally interested in my ideas. And so I felt really heard. And then it came out like this was kind of all the pre stuff, and then it came out and people in my town read it, and it was terrible. I don't know how I expected that they would react, but they reacted with great hostility. And especially the head coach, we have a little hockey academy in town, and where kids can get out early certain days a week to play hockey. And my son was in that for a while, and it wasn't a good experience for him. And I don't mean to say the whole program was bad. I just told the story of his experience, which I told particular one story. He was doing a drill and he couldn't get it. He's not particularly coordinated at a young age, and he gets really stressed out, or he used to. So he was really stressed, and the more he tried to do it, the more stressed he was. And the one coach was standing there with some other coaches, and they thought he was not getting it on purpose or something. So they were kind of laughing at him, and the more they laughed, the more frustrated he got. And then the coach took his puck and shot it down the ice and said, go get it and cool down. And he was just little, like he was 9 or something. And he had this really high sense of justice, like everything had to be fair, my son. He was really big on fairness. And he was so mad, like, why would he take my puck and shoot it down the ice? That's not fair. And he totally lost his temper. And he skated his head into the boards. He skated head first into the boards. And I was like, here's my 9-year-old son breaking his neck now. This is great. So that was the end of that. And it was just made me realize the whole point of the scene was that it took that for me to realize that more and more and more isn't always better. And it wasn't better for us. And this hockey program wasn't working for my son for a whole bunch of reasons. He was not the right kind of kid for it. He found it stressful to leave class partway through for hockey. He found it stressful to come back into class partway through for hockey. He found the drills stressful. There was nothing fun about it. And it was just me and my approach to like, oh, let's do, like, we're going to do hockey. Let's do it. And let's go for it. And so I was my like chill out moment, right? Like just take a deep breath, lady, and do what's best for your kid. So when I wrote the scene, that's how I meant it. But the coach, who wasn't identified in the passage or anything, but of course it's a small town, he was so mad, and he was writing threatening comments on my Facebook page and threatening comments on Twitter. And I was on CTV's Sunday the Social, and he wrote, if this is the kind of garbage you put, and you should see the damage she's done to her community. And so there was no talk. It was just I was a villain for having brought these things up. And I was kind of surprised naively about that reaction. But as one of my friends said to me, you have to remember, like, that's his livelihood. When you threaten people's livelihood, they get emotional. So his livelihood is running this hockey school. And when I say, well, maybe this isn't the best thing for everybody, that threatens his livelihood. So it was unpleasant in town, but everybody in town read it. That's one thing when it's controversial, is everybody will read it. So, and I'm not saying that I have the answers. I'm just saying let's rethink sport and think about who we're doing it for and what's best and what's the long game. And so I'm just hoping that it will start conversations. And I guess that's what I have to say for now.
Okay. Angie, everybody on is familiar with, the minor hockey system. I think Barry Midori is on. He's from Hockey Alberta. He's a grandpa that watches his kids in novice hockey. And Barry and I, Barry shared a story with me a year or two ago where he, observing half ice hockey and watching the coaches scream and, lose a little bit of emotional control, it was really caught him off guard. And just about every one of us has encountered that. And now your story with your boy, you describe really well his sensitivity in the book. That's your child, that's him, that's his personality. And average coaches might just totally overlook that and react versus handle it like a professional educator. And that's one of the problems in communication with coaches. Their intentions are good to begin with, but it takes a degree of understanding and education to be a more open and responsive teacher. And I'm just going to